I'm Dale Simmons, President of the League of Women Voters. We want to thank you all for coming tonight. Thank you to our forum co-sponsors. I wanted to give a big thank you to our candidates for Congressional District 22. Please give them a hand. With that, I'd like to introduce our forum moderator, Melinda Morales.
Our candidates will be given 2 minutes for an introduction.
Thank you very much for everyone who's come here. I'm sorry there isn't translation service as it looks like at some of the other forums. But my name is Ricardo Franco. I am a 4th generation Mexican American whose family has more than 100 years of history right here in this valley, right here in this district. But I'm the very first generation of that family to not have to work and grow up in the fields picking grapes. But I'm the last generation, and in fact the only person in this last generation of my family to actually still speak Spanish from birth. So my roots run deep here, and I've seen this country progress as well as my family as well. And I have a deep, deep passion for every single person working here in this valley. From those of us that live in the northeastern part of the district in Northeast Fresno, in the Clovis West area I came from, to where my mother's roots still are on the poor side of Dinuba, where she was born into abject poverty, told she could never go to college because she was a woman and she was brown, and then rose to become director of admissions over at Fresno State. That's the America that I believe in. That's the American spirit that I believe in, hard work, that's going to create progress back into this valley. Washington's two-party system right now is just trying to tear the other person down, is not working to get real results over here. So while people complain about Russia, we still have people that do not have clean water coming out of their taps in this district all the way to Flint, Michigan. And I'm the only one up here with the experience working in the private sector up and down this valley to know what it takes to make sure we improve people's lives, to make it a business-friendly community, to make sure that we have a government once again that's going to work for every single one of us and put American people before party or politics. So I look forward to tonight, and I look forward to hearing your questions and telling you exactly why I'm the most qualified person to be up here. Thank you.
For our first question is on the subject of tariffs. What will be the impacts of proposed tariffs to the valley? Mr. Franco.
So I work for a refurbished computer server company. That's why I've got my warehouse voice on right now. As we moved product in and out of that warehouse to locations all around the world. A couple of years ago, my boss, who's European, and I were talking about Brexit. Oh, they're not going to vote for Brexit. It'll never happen. Well, it did. Had nothing to do with us. And overnight, we lost 30% of our revenue in that company. We spent 3 days and nights nonstop trying to reevaluate what we were doing in our business model to see what we could do now within the borders of the United States to save 17 American jobs that had benefits. Tariffs and other worldwide economic uncertainties is what drives and kills business, whether it's local or whether it's big corporations. So tariffs affected our little business as well too. 17 people, and that was it. With farmers, it's even worse, right? Because how many times a year do you get paid? Once. So what do? Are you going to save it, or do you just pack up and leave right now? And with that tariff uncertainty and not knowing your prices later, that is a huge gamble that we cannot afford to take.
If elected, on which committees would you be interested in serving?
The committees, appropriations, and budget and finance. You know, I came out of Wharton, where 70% of the graduates go on into investment banking on Wall Street. But I did not do that. I came right back here to create jobs and to build a business in the heart of the Central Valley, a 90-mile radius out of my home from Fresno. So those committees are actually near and dear to my heart because a lot of people don't know how much money we spend on certain parts of our budget when it comes to the federal budget and the economy. In Congress, you get to pass laws that have far wide-reaching effects. And if you are creative on some of these things, for instance, if we had more money to invest into infrastructure right here into California, maybe our gas tax wouldn't be so high right now. And that's why it's time to have new leadership with new, bigger, bolder ideas to put forth those ideas and gain an alliance of other people around the country to actually rethink the way we do the budget. And so that's one of the committees that I want to do. Also Veterans Affairs. I'm the chair of the Deported Veterans Caucus. So it's an issue.
If elected, what would you do to make college more affordable?
So I agree pretty much with everything that's already been said on this stage. So let's look at this from a different perspective. Other first world industrialized countries can afford to send their citizens to college for free. Why can't we? We have the money and the funds there to do it in our budget. We can forgive student loans, and we can move from loans over to grants. We can do it already for K through 12. We can expand it into higher education as well. And we need to, because in 2030, China will pass us up as the #1 world economy. And other countries are passing us up left and right in everything that you think makes America great, when we're really only the #1 incarcerated Americans in this country. We need to give people the access to that education so that we can be competitive on the world stage again. And education is that key leveling factor for everybody. No matter if you're rich or you're poor. My mother said when she retired from Fresno State as Director of Matters of Admissions, poverty is about robbing from children the ability to dream. So we need to get people into college that want to go there if we want to keep the American dream alive.
How do you see the future of transportation for the Valley?
Well, with transportation, I look at this a little bit different angle. I'm 34 years old, and one of the reasons I decided to run for Congress is because I didn't believe that our politicians in Washington were thinking about our younger generation. 435 members of Congress, only 5 that are under the age of 35, and that's it. So when I look at the future of transportation in the Central Valley, instead of high-speed rail, what I'm really thinking about is how am I going to get my groceries and how I'm getting to work. And I'll tell you, for younger people, as well as for an older generation that doesn't want to drive so much, it's creating those opportunities where you live. So making sure you have a robust, local public transportation system that goes green is very, very key. But at the same time, making sure that these communities are affordable so that they do not become overcrowded. You can see what people like Uber and Lyft companies have actually done for the ride-sharing program. You're a lot more safe now. You don't have to go out and get your DUIs on Friday and Saturday. So it helps the community. And this is what happens when you let the private sector expand, but you still do have to have a little bit of regulation to make sure things are safe.
Our last question from the League. Most agree that reforms are needed in the immigration system. What changes or solutions should be implemented in solving the immigration issue?
Remember this when it comes to immigration and everything else we do in Congress. Laws without morals are useless. Years ago, a gentleman by the name of Enrique Salas was brought over into this country from Mexico at the age of 7. He served in our military after graduating from Reedley High School right here in our own backyard. He got in trouble with the law. He paid his penance and served his sentence. And instead of being released, was deported to Mexico where he was exiled. A couple weeks ago, we buried him back here in Reedley. Because the only way they can legally come back is in a box. This is where we have to make sure that our immigration system follows the morals, and that's why it is broken. And this is also for the definition of skilled versus unskilled labor. We have to let the free market start to decide what that is. Because people in this valley know that farm labor is skilled labor nowadays. And if we cannot have an education system that provides the employees that we need in the new economy, then we're going to have to get that from somewhere else. And they do deserve a spot in our American society to share in that American dream as well.
The Tax Reform Act recently passed, among other things, reduced the corporate tax rate from 35% to 21% and is expected to reduce taxes for a majority of wage-earning Americans. Do you support the passage of that act?
Trickle-down economics is what this is, and it's a bunch of baloney. 35% tax rate before, do you know what the average tax rate paid by corporations was? Not 35, 18. You bring it down now to 20, you know what the average is going to be next year? 5. If you want to end welfare for people, I say we end the corporate welfare so we can reinvest back in our communities and small businesses right here. Because again, I come from the private sector, I know the games that people play, and I know exactly all this because this is what we were schooled of out of Wharton, which is why every financial lobbyist actually worked on this to come out. So I want to repeal that. And if you do want to go back to the days of the New Deal and FDR, when college was affordable, you could own a home and still pay for childcare and pay for an education, you've got to go back to what that society looked like. And those corporate tax rates were much, much higher. And they are like that in every other industrialized society too. And last but not least, that bill was a big insult to my generation when this country goes bankrupt in another 20 years because that national debt is just going to fall right over our heads and crush us.
How will you make yourself available to your constituents?
Well, as a salesman, I can tell you we're taught you can't wait for people to come to you, you have to go to them. And so what I would do if elected is continue doing it the same way that I have actually campaigned. This campaign has taken me way out of the district of Tijuana to go meet with deported veterans who call this district home. Even right now, we have people out canvassing in the district to get the message out in English and in Spanish. I have visited classrooms at Fresno State. I have visited classrooms at elementary schools here in Visalia and other people within their businesses and their homes. So I firmly believe that you have to get out, you have to get dirty, and you have to walk with people in their shoes and in their district. And that also means sometimes having breakfast at a diner at 3 a.m. right before they start the day shift out there. So that's what I pledge to do, to be open and to talk to anybody, regardless of whether you vote for me, my party, the other party, or if you're not even eligible to vote.
Final statements.
No one is more versed on the issues on the broad spectrum of the country than I am, especially the ones that affect us here. No one else has the experience traveling across the entire country that sees other issues. That's important because we're going to have to tie our water issues here with the water issues in Flint, Michigan. We're going to have to tie our environmental issues here with the same things that's happening in Western Pennsylvania. Because that's how you build a coalition, and that's how you actually get something done in Congress. And no one up here on this stage is going to be a bigger fighter and champion for you than me. Someone who comes from an immigrant background that has had to live progressively and has always been the underdog to champion for everybody. Luchando para todos y luchando por el país. We have never stopped fighting, ever here. And you guys are always worth the fight. So it's important that you guys figure out who your candidates are, where they stand, where their qualifications are as well, too, once they're in Washington, to make sure that they are beholding to you, and not just their mega donors, and not just their own political party machine. Your vote's going to be that important, because as much as we talk about not accepting dirty money, we cannot be dishing it out either for favors.